Hello, local people, and anybody else watching this, but I don't really know why you would. I just want to report on an event I was at. It was a government study on firefighting and associated services that is put on by the government and the Association for the Provincial Fire Service in the province. A company called Transitional Solutions was hired. They had a nice lady from Alberta, referred to herself as a fire brat, which, if you don't know, means kid who grew up around fire stations because their parent was a firefighter. And yeah, it was overall a decent meeting. I just want to bring you some of the highlights. When we firefighters got there was a list on the board of key themes. Transitional solutions had been going across the province already, so by the time our event rolled around, they already had a whole bunch of feedback, and our group was able to draw off that. We deviated a lot from the discussion points, the order that it seemed like they wanted to go through, but that seems like it was totally okay. Anyway, I want to bring you the concerns that were brought up by the local chiefs. It was mostly chiefs and I would say officer level firefighters, but honestly, it was mostly chiefs and deputy chiefs there. One union guy, one guy from the municipality. Anyway, the first of the key themes that they brought up was dispatching, and the first comment that came up when we were to discuss issues around dispatching in our own local areas and across the province, the first thing that came up was personal feuds affecting service, promptness, and quality. And it's an issue, whether we're talking about entire departments down in the valley having had these issues. I don't know if they've been resolved, but I remember seeing through the grapevine and on social media in the past they had issues, or other local issues. That was the first thing that came up, which it is what it is. After that, we some of the other people brought up that having multiple dispatch organizations in the province was causing inconsistencies and challenges in providing fire service. The next thing, and this was something that I've observed, so I brought it up myself, and as an ordinary, regular firefighter, this might just be where I'm at. I was totally open to conversing, and I had a good chat with the union guy, but the thing I brought up was conflicts between volunteer firefighters and career and union covered, which is mostly career firefighters, and just attitude differences between the two. From what I understand, there's just like rudeness and superiority coming from the career guys directed at volunteers. But the union guy, while we were chatting, kind of provided me with some examples of volunteers once in a while shitting on career union guys. I tried to say that both of those words at the same time. Anyway, and I'm not trying to unduly shit on union or career guys, but I call them how I see them, and I see the impression that I think a lot of us volunteers have is that the fire departments in the cities and in the bigger towns are totally funded with everything they want. The union guy kind of corrected me on that and helped me see things from their perspective, but that's where I was coming into the meeting from, and that volunteer services struggle, and it's more nuanced than that from what I got from the discussion with him. But anyway, the reason I had that impression is because I see it seems like the career departments in the city are doing okay, and maybe they're not, but that's the way that it seemed. And the volunteer departments in more rural areas of the HRM definitely are not doing okay, at least as far as volunteers go. Very low volunteer numbers, from what I understand, in the rural areas of HRM. But moving on to the next topic, the next thing that came up was that the fire leadership does not want to be doing medical first response. No problem going and assisting with heart attacks, cardiac arrests, but in general, the impression that I'm getting from leadership, and if they're reflecting the feelings of their members, firefighters do not want to be doing medical first response anymore. And I disagree. I was a bit of a contrarian in this meeting, because while doing medical first response isn't the primary and only reason that I get into firefighting, it's definitely up there. This is just a little bit of background, but basically what got me into firefighting, were the Occupy protests that came out of the Occupy Wall Street movement. It lit a fire of volunteerism in me, and that had me look at what opportunities I had for volunteering locally, which funneled me into the fire department once I talked to the local chief. Or he wasn't chief at the time. Anyway, firefighting and MFR. Some members want to do it, some members don't. I think we should be doing it, but I totally hear that firefighters don't want to be woken up at 2 a.m. to go and console somebody over a stubbed toe or minimal stuff like that. And what the leadership was basically saying is that EHS needs to pick up that slack. That's not something that should be falling on volunteer fire services, and at this point they're basically not allowing it, because there are a lot of departments that only go to cardiac arrests and things that are serious enough for the paramedics to ask for fire departments to be dispatched specifically. Moving on from that, the union guy brought up something. I put it on the list of things that I need to look up for myself, because I'm not even really sure what this one is, but OSI screening. And in addition to that, the union guy was advocating for physiological, cancer, and mental health screening in firefighters and volunteer recruits. And a lot of that would definitely be appreciated. Firefighters are at higher risk of cancers. There are mental health risks involved, and just, he's aware of it. I hope the public's aware of it. It's real hazards and things that need to be addressed, and the reason it came up is because if government isn't aware of it, government needs to be aware of it. And if they want to be continuing to rely on volunteer services to provide this care to our communities, the communities through the government need to be providing mental health care, cancer screening, these kind of things to the volunteers, feet on the ground doing the work. After that, there was some talk of lack of effective partnerships and support from the federal and provincial governments. We kind of covered or touched on some of that already. If you want to know more about that, I'd encourage you to do your own digging, but if there's any specific elements of that you would like me to look into and report back to my YouTube following with, I'm happy to do so. I've got a lot on my plate right now, so I'm gonna want to see, like, people asking me specifically, like, go into this element of, like, how the provincial or federal government could be better supporting firefighters, or this other element, but, like, it is a big thing to look into broadly myself. This video is just me talking about this one meeting that I was able to attend. I wanted to attend an earlier one, but it slipped my mind, and I'm happy that they had several across the province, so I was able to actually get to one. The last note that I have on things that were discussed was basically a complete lack of any plan for volunteer recruitment and retention on the part of the governments, provincial and municipal mostly, as far as that goes. Departments themselves, sometimes they have a plan as far as volunteer recruitment and retention. Sometimes they just throw together an event and hope for the best. And any which way, that's us volunteers doing our best right now with the resources we're given and the extra time and energy that we have to contribute to our communities. Because while I am in a bit of a privileged position, not financially by any means, but I have time. I don't really have energy, but that is another video that is completely separate to this stuff that I want to make. But a lot of other firefighters do not have the time. They are volunteering already with all the spare time they've got. They're working their asses off at their jobs, especially if they've got a career firefighting job. And some of the career guys, they are career firefighters during the day and volunteer firefighters at night. Some of them, at least that's my impression anyway. Besides that, volunteers in our rural communities, which is almost all of the firefighters in our rural communities, they're volunteering the time that they have outside of their work. And if you're from here, you know how hard it is to survive in our province as a working class person. You don't get compensated enough most of the time. It's just nuts. And then add on top family life for young people, dating and recreational activities. You're squeezing the time in anyway just to volunteer. So doing extra stuff like community outreach to try and recruit volunteers, or fundraising, which a lot of the departments are in the position of doing themselves, and some struggle to do it. It's a lot. Anyway, this video is already longer than I hoped it would be. I just wanted to bring you guys that information. I would have liked to record the meeting, but I didn't even bother to ask. I doubt the lady from Transitional Solutions would have wanted that, and I'm even more confident that the other firefighters in the room wouldn't want a public record of exactly which fire chiefs, deputy chiefs, and everybody else in the room said exactly what things. Like, it's not about trying to grill anybody or wring anybody out to dry or anything like that. This video, that meeting, everything we do really is trying to improve things for the fire service, for our communities, just in general. So, yeah, I hope you understand. There are some meetings, plenty of which you can see on this YouTube channel, that I do go to, set my camera down, and do my gonzo journalism. That's basically where my expertise is right now. There is a course that I'm wanting to take. I might go into more detail and try and crowdfund for me to be able to do it in the future. But right now, I'm just trying to get back in the groove of what I've proven to myself I am already okay at, and still trying to improve at. But I hope I'm not rambling. This is my YouTube channel. I do want to talk about where I'm at in my own life, while I also report on what's going on in our province. So, with all that said, thank you for watching. I welcome and appreciate any feedback you want to provide on this video, and you'll see me again soon or later, whenever you see me out in the communities, or the next video I make. I want to go to a festival in Dartmouth here real soon, so maybe there'll be a video about that. Anyway, peace everybody. Take care of yourselves and your families, and we'll talk again later.